UFO gurus have assembled yet again, only to be disappointed yet again. Our dear Elon was apparently responsible for a glowy, swirly vortex in the night sky. What seemed to be aliens was actually SpaceX at it again with their innovations. A mysterious blue vortex of light discovered in Hawaii last week and blamed on aliens has killed the buzz and proven to be something far more mundane. Videos of a dazzling blue spiral in the night sky inspired some Twitter users to speculate that it was caused by extraterrestrial beings, which I personally wish would have been the case, but alas. The vortex was connected to the SpaceX company's launch of a new satellite. When the swirl was initially seen, SpaceX had purportedly launched a GPS satellite for the US Space Force using a Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral earlier in the day. According to scientists, the phenomenon is produced by frozen rocket fuel discharged during the launch. After separating from its first stage, the rocket uses an engine to maneuver itself into position to release a satellite before ejecting any leftover fuel. It then begins to spin, releasing a whirlpool of crystals comprised of frozen fuel that was then illuminated by sunlight. Fascinating, isn't it? This also explains why the swirl may be seen unfolding and twirling in night sky footage before fading. Previous SpaceX launches have resulted in similar happenings too, with spaceweather.com authors suggesting that these SpaceX spirals are now, bear with me, a typical occurrence over the Pacific Ocean, as this is where most Falcon 9 rockets jettison their second stages. For those of you wondering, let's dive into the science bits of what happened to the rocket, in turn leading to this. Around 3 minutes after launch, the rocket's first stage, which provides the primary propulsion for liftoff, separated from the payload-carrying second stage and returned to Earth. Strap in for the next step. The second stage utilizes its engine to move itself into position to release the satellite after separating from the first stage, and any residual fuel is evacuated before re-entry. This causes the second stage to spin before deorbiting and crashing into the Pacific Ocean, though this is not the first time SpaceX rockets have generated spectacular light displays. In April 2022, the Subaru Asahi Star camera photographed a similar spiral of light as SpaceX launched another Falcon 9 rocket into orbit with a satellite. Falcon 9 launches are noted for causing odd atmospheric phenomena, including bow shocks and rocket jellyfishes. With SpaceX expecting over 100 Falcon 9 launches this year, light displays like this one are expected to become increasingly common. I do think that this could all be happening due to NASA considering bringing back stranded ISS crew on a SpaceX capsule.
And resilience rises. Not even gravity contains humanity when we explore as one for all.
To elaborate, NASA is investigating if SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft may provide an alternate trip home for some International Space Station crew members after a Russian capsule sprung a coolant leak while docked at the orbiting lab. Thankfully, this isn't the 60s, else we'd have a war going on down here. NASA and Russia's space agency, Roscosmos, are examining the reason for a ruptured coolant line on an exterior radiator of Russia's Soyuz MS-22 spacecraft. Soyuz is scheduled to return to Earth early next year with 2 cosmonauts and 1 US astronaut. In December, a coolant leak on the Russian Soyuz vehicle attached to the ISS highlighted a severe scenario. The leak depleted a critical fluid needed to regulate cabin temperatures, causing Russia's space station procedures to be disrupted, while engineers in Moscow debate whether another Soyuz should be launched to recover the 3-man team. NASA is meanwhile considering SpaceX as an option. The company's prospective participation in a mission led by Russia emphasizes the level of care NASA is taking to guarantee its astronauts can safely return to Earth if one of Russia's other backup plans falls through. In September, the leaking Soyuz spacecraft sent US astronaut Frank Rubio and cosmonauts Sergei Prokopyev and Dmitry Petelin to the space station for a 6-month mission. The sad part is that they were supposed to return in March 2023, and the spacecraft is home to people from other nationalities too. The station's 4 additional crew members arrived in October by a NASA-contracted SpaceX Crew Dragon spaceship, which is still docked at the ISS. SpaceX's Crew Dragon capsule, a gumdrop-shaped pod with 4 astronaut seats, has become the focal point of NASA's low-Earth orbit human spaceflight aspirations. Aside from Russia's Soyuz program, it is the only organization capable of transporting humans to and from the space station. NASA and Roscosmos are investigating 3 probable explanations of the leak. The first of these, a meteoroid-caused puncture. The second, an impact from a piece of space debris. And an internal horror, a hardware failure on the Soyuz spacecraft itself. They are also concentrating on establishing the condition of MS-22. which is also intended to act as the three-man crew's lifeboat in the event of an emergency on the station that causes evacuation. A recent meteor shower appeared to increase the possibility of a micrometeoroid impact as the reason, but the leak was facing the wrong way for that to be the case, though a space rock could have hit from another direction. If a piece of space debris is to blame, it might exacerbate worries about an increasingly chaotic orbital environment, and potentially raise questions about whether such critical equipment as the spacecraft's coolant line should be protected by debris shielding, as other obvious elements of the spacecraft were. Anyway,
60 years of building rockets.
We started by looking at over 1,700 different potential components that would go into the rocket, and by looking at the way we could.
That's not all SpaceX is up to. SpaceX also wants to connect your smartphone to a Starlink satellite. The billionaire company is apparently working on connecting cell phones directly to the Starlink satellite network. On December 6 last year, SpaceX applied to the U.S. Federal Communications Commission for permission to outfit some of its second-generation Starlink satellites with direct-to-cellular gear. SpaceX and T-Mobile unveiled plans in August to connect mobile phones to satellites to improve wireless coverage. The plan is scheduled to start with texting services in a beta phase beginning by the end of next year. This approval is vital for SpaceX to be able to fulfill that promise to the public. In the United States, it already has tens of thousands of users, with consumers paying at least $599 for a user terminal and $110 per month for a subscription. The FCC cleared SpaceX's plans to launch up to 4,425 first-generation satellites in 2018.
Low Earth orbit, like you see in the International Space Station today, to moving beyond that, to taking the next step in exploration.
It's 322 feet tall.
SpaceX has also applied for permission to operate a network of 29,998 satellites, called the second generation or Gen 2 Starlink constellation, which will beam broadband to locations with little or no internet connection. The United Kingdom stated on December 1st it will begin testing Musk's Starlink technology in its first test of web-linked satellites to bring super-fast internet to all houses in the country. And that's not all. SpaceX's moon flight will take the first openly queer woman to space. Yusaku Maezawa, a Japanese millionaire, has announced the 8 crew members he hopes to take on a voyage around the moon as early as next year. Maezawa said quite recently that K-pop sensation Top and DJ Steve Aoki will be among his crew members among one of Elon Musk's SpaceX rockets. Maezawa purchased every ticket on the first lunar mission, which has been in the works since 2018 and would follow his 12-day tenure on a Soyuz spacecraft at the International Space Station, or ISS, last year. The star revealed the selections on Twitter and on his website for the hashtag Dear Moon project. Rhiannon Adam, 37, is another one of the crew members and currently lives in Hackney. According to mission officials, Adam will be the first openly gay woman in space. That's all I got for you with SpaceX and its swirly spacey ventures. See you in the next one.